This really surprised me, this exercise, I gotta tell you, because it seemed like when we were focused on just the book, we operated a little tamer. But when we got to the heart of the matter, or the heart of our existences, we came out. And maybe that's something we have to develop further here. You know, because it doesn't make sense that we are trying to put this nice warm blanket over some cold hard pain. You know, because sometimes we just have to do it. There's no sense in denying the fact that we have hard pain to deal with on a daily basis, and we're not expressing it. So this just makes my wheels turn in my head. You know, that maybe we don't have true avenues to talk about what's in our heart, and then it's not just enough for us to be talking about it. I gotta take it right now, but we have to put together a plan of action, and that's what I believe in, and that's where you can separate a lot of BS from you can separate the orators from the soldiers, and I think that's very important. But you know, I wanted to continue this a few more times, and then we got to really come up with what we're going to do, because we can talk all day long and we go out there and our lives will be the same. And that don't make no sense.
You're right.
That make no sense at all. And I'm surprised. I'm glad because I knew Brandon was a strong brother in this area. Like you can just tell. I mean, I heard him speak the first time. You know, strong. But brother Herbert, what happened to you, man? He's sick and tired of being sick and tired, and sick and tired of that. Amen. I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from as a black man.
Okay.
I had a debate not long ago with a white brother, and it was about a movie, a biblical movie. I think that they came out with. It might have been. I think they're going to do a new movie regarding something in the Bible. I forget what it was.
Was it Exodus?
I think it is Exodus. And all the actors are white.
Yep.
And like people were saying, how can they do this? How can they do this? He was just saying, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. Relax. It's entertainment. And my response to him was, suppose we had a movie and we had a movie about Jesus and he's black. He's Wesley Snipes. He's quiet. Because they don't want to hear that, because it's not their ox that's being gored. But what I found that movies, you know, throughout the history, have been really depictions, symbols, have been really been used to grind us even till today. I look back at the history of movies. There was a seminal movie, and they still, whenever you go to film school and you study movies, the movies of Cecil B. DeMille in Birth of a Nation is still what you have to study.
What you watch.
Exactly. And that movie what was first called The Rise of the Klan. But they changed it. The greatest, one of the greatest movies America had ever made was called The Rise of the Klan. Exactly. But some places they call it Birth of a Nation, which is even worse. Which is even worse. It's even worse. You know, because that's how the United States was. You know, the states had more powers after the Civil War, less powers. There were more civil rights, more amendments, tightening things up. And what Cecil B. DeMille portrayed was like he portrayed black people like monkeys. They were slaving, they were dancing, they were buck dancing, and they were eating watermelon. They were happy, standing up. You know, he portrayed the antagonism between the black man and his wife, stealing, thank you. Every negative stereotype that you still see today, he put them all together into that movie. And then it shows how the Civil War started and how white people were treated so badly in the South. And how the white liberals came down from the north, the carpetbaggers, to help the black man, and to show the black men in Congress, because we were all elected after that, and how they had chickens on their arm before Congress, and they were still eating watermelons in Congress.
When that movie was seen, they had
whites playing black.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They would exactly.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Whites playing black.
Exactly right. They exactly blackface. In fact,
blackface.
Blackface. And there were minstrels. In fact, Al Jolson made a fabulous career singing in blackface. Oh, mammy, my dear, oh, mammy. That's what he did.
Yeah, he still tell you.
And what the movie's climax, when it comes to the flip, is that the white liberal who came south to uplift these savages who were still buck dancing and eating chicken and spitting watermelon seeds on the floor of Congress. This crazed black guy, he sees this white woman, and he outrages her. Okay, then the white liberal joins the Klan, and that's the thing. It's the OJ story again. They're down with you. But you can only go but so far.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they were grabbing out women left and right and center to now, exactly to the hours. But we know of the young boy in the '60s. What's his name? Who was whistled at a white woman?
Reckless eyeballing.
Yeah, reckless eyeballing. You get hung for that.
Yeah.
In any case, so these images passed down on us today, and I think we all remember when we were maybe very young and we realized that we're black. Do you remember that moment? I do, because I'm out watching TV and everybody's white and happy, maybe 4 or 5, and then I realized that I'm black, and I don't like it because even at 3 or 4, I realized to be black is not good.
Yeah, we did the same thing. You right in school.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah. I remember the story of W. Du Bois. I don't know why we don't have more streets named after him, because he was a great intellectual.
Well, they want to pick in a way, they want to pick your leaders and all that.
Exactly.
Too.
Exactly.
Who should be our leader?
Exactly.
And all that.
And W. Du Bois says that he was a happy child because he had a charm upbringing. He was part white, and he was playing along, and this little girl called him a nigger, and then he realized he was black, and that turned his spirit, and then he began to advocate towards his black side. And, but the thing is that when they talk about equality, it's a funny thing. Because they will only go but so far, and that fits into what Brother Brandon says, that we can't really look to them, that it has to be some sort of independence upon our part, it has to be self-reliance. It just has to be because they are fine and dandy with us, but once we get to what they don't want us to get to, then you got a problem. I remember when during the OJ trial, and I was like hanging out with some white liberals who I worked with. I worked at Acorn, and they were like helping the black community, doing all these things, and those are the ones I learned community organizing from. And they were like great. They were down with the cause and everything. Some of the white girls were sitting with some of the black organizers. I said, this is great. This is the brave new world, right? Yeah, I didn't stop. I didn't do it. I don't know. A funny thing, I don't give if it's on tape. I dated this white lady, right? And I went to choke her. I went to kill her. Wow. Because she was like red hair and very white, like pale. Looking
Irish,
albino.
I don't know, but I didn't understand that I had such hatred, anger towards not her, but her whiteness.
Right.
That they had brought me to this point. That even though I thought I was a normal person walking along, that I was so angry that I could be a killer, and it was hard for me to stop. I didn't do anything towards her, but it was like, but I never saw her again. And I read, I forget, his name is Ishmael somebody. He wrote a book called Writing is Fighting. He had the same problem too. Because when you compare skin colors, she was white beyond white, and he could play. It made me seem hideous to her, and I hated her for that. And these are the things. So somebody once wrote that we are crazy for not being angry.
That's right.
There's no way.
It's human reaction.
Because every day, non-stop, it is driven down our throats through these images and media that we ain't jack.
That's right. Yeah.
That we are fit to be tied up again. And if you try to run, we're gonna shoot you. And it's just and I was just surprised at my own
I
son.
saw Uncle Ben's rice commercial. They did Uncle Ben's rice, and usually be a black man. They didn't even show him no more. You know what I mean? Seriously. And your mama, they took the scarf off her head. You know what I mean? Seriously.
I'm going home and look for Uncle Ben now.
One or two more things. I was listening to TD Jakes, somebody's phone.
I'm strong.
I was listening to Brandon's phone just now. I was listening to somebody's. I was listening to TD Jakes, we were watching him, and before you came in, he said that about us as a people, that when he went to South Africa, he hated Africans. He didn't like Africans, but they were arrogant. You know?
I love people like that.
Yeah. No, okay, and I'll tell you something about myself. I'm a West Indian, and sometimes African Americans don't like West Indians. They say they another stuck up, you know, sugar cane, banana boat,
Cotton picker.
yeah, who swam here. You know?
He wasn't strong enough to make the trip.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, but TDJ said he was in a cab with an African, and he told the African, listen, I got much to do with Africans. And the African told him that he says it's not that we're arrogant, but the African man said, is that we have not been enslaved. So, and if you ever watch, and take note, there's something dignified about our African brothers, because when they see, you know, when they deal with a person of the dominant culture, they're just as arrogant with them as anybody else. But I think we give them difference. I see it. I tell you, I see it. A white cop show up, we all be on our best behavior. The hands are coming out the pocket. They're going up there like this.
I don't know about that.
Hey, okay? You may be.
Well, I had problems with them.
Okay. But for the most part, we still look to them as authority figures.
Okay.
Africans are not having that. Because everything they see in their country is black. The president, the police, the people next door. So you don't tend to get
You
the.
South African?
I'm gonna get to South Africa too.
Oh.
Africans, okay?
Oh.
But they wasn't having it either in South Africa. They were throwing down. They never really accepted it. While we was marching, they were shooting.
White Africa? Yeah.
South Africa, they were shooting. They had a hot war. They wasn't marching and going to lunchrooms. They were bombing the place up.
Well, they have white leaders.
No, they're black. So this is an example of how these images and what we're fighting against. It's a mental thing. We have to first reclaim our minds. We have to, come back to ourselves. I heard T.D. Jakes say tonight also that Jesus says that he knew us before we were born. That means he knew us before we were brainwashed, before we were hurt, before we were locked up, before we were beat down, and that's our pure selves. And then we might see a pure version of ourselves in our African brothers. T.D. Jakes said something also. He was very critical of the black church, and I have to be also, and I accept that. He said that we get happy, and that becomes our drug. We get, and it pacifies us, like Karl Marx said that religion is the opiate of the masses. T.D. Jakes said it's happening with us too. He says because we don't reclaim our own minds, and he spoke about how we have to get back to our pure selves and really advocate and walk differently. Brother Brandon is right again. And in South Africa they didn't rise up and they wanted their land. They wanted their own independence. They didn't want any of this foolishness about integration. They wanted their land back. T.D. Jakes also says that the Dutch, in South Africa, the Dutch view it this way. They said that when the Dutch came, they gave us the Bible. They came with the Bible, and they left us with the Bible, but they had the land. You see, so sometimes so that's a problem for us, because the religion that we have now, the way we study the Bible we have now, King James, they were heavy in slavery during King James time. The Bible that we have now is handed down to us from our slave masters. The verses that we adhere to, that we look to, how they picked out a few verses that we hold on to, and what he argued is that we have to find ourselves, you know, for the blackness that we are, you know, and everything that we said today is on point. But then the issue has to become, what are we going to do about finding our true black selves, the way the Lord sees us? Are we going to continue to have church where we're going to shout and feel better, and then go home because that's what they've given us? They took away our name. They took away. They didn't even take the land. They just took us. In this case, and they gave us the Bible to pacify. And in taking the Bible to pacify, they took away the true image of Christ, and gave us this Norwegian-looking guy. You know, Brother Brandon is right again. That people don't even realize that Egypt is a part of Africa. You know,
right.
Ethiopia is
Right.
part of Africa. And I think we forget that people look the way they do in the Middle East because the Middle East has been gentrified. That's all. But if you go to Iraq, these other countries that have not been so gentrified, there's a lot of people look like us up in Iraq, up in Libya, walking around like us, but with dignity. So, how to get us to that point has been the hardest thing I've ever done. And what I find is that being here in Philadelphia, what I find is that it's not accepted. It's not well accepted. It's not. And it's not that the people are wrong, but I think the message is not right. And that becomes an issue that has to be worked out here. Because there's no sense in me standing up here talking and people still dying. I think I fail. So, hearing what your brother said blessed me. Mightily. And I think we need to continually put our heads together. I mean, it's going to take time to put this thing together, but we just can't talk. Because our dreams are not going to come into being at all. T.D. Jakes also said in this sermon, I don't know why I watched it today, but everything worked together. He said that we can talk and we get happy in church. We get that drug and we go home and then life falls apart. He says because we don't take what God has truly given us and set out goals for ourselves. We have to have a goal. Like this ministry has to have a goal. We have to figure out what we're going to do. I don't think I could be able to come. Yeah. I mean, listen, we all are good talkers. We all can move the crowd. But what are we going to do towards this situation? That's the question that is always being asked, and that is the question that I think has to be dealt with, because Brother Herbert is right. He's seen this all before. You've seen this movie before. It's like the past is repeating ourselves. Instead of lynching, they ain't even bothering with the rope no more. We might even give him a chance to strangle. They're just shooting us down. So what do we do? And I know I've spoken to Mr. Herbert and Deacon Brandon about legalizing drugs. Everybody quite spoke to thought I was crazy. They still think I'm crazy anyway.
Then it came on TV. They making $1 billion off it.
Yeah. But why I think it's important, because it gives immediate relief. When there's a famous sociologist, he's called Durkheim, and he said crime exists because it serves a social function. In other cultures, like Japan, there's very little crime. They say because they're homogenous, they're all Japanese, but that's not exactly true. There are different types of Japanese. They have their own sets. They're only united in language. There are different types. There's some Caucasoid Japanese. You would know the difference. There were some because there are Northern Japanese. Some of them seem to have been Russian Caucasians that lived there. They're called the Ainu, and there are the Korean Japanese. The Japanese royal family is of Korean descent, and they're more darker. Japanese also. But in any case, Durkheim said that crime exists because it's a social function. To keeping a certain segment of the population down is profitable. Our prison systems lock up more. We all been in prison. I don't know about Brother Brandon. I've been locked up.
Me too.
Okay, locked up, and they're ready to lock us up. And what happens is that you get a prison industrial complex. You get judges who've been there 30, 40 years. He's built a great house. He has a retirement. He lock up black people all day long. Send his kids to college. On and on and on. The policemen, their whole groups of Italians and Irish and Germans, whoever they may be. Well, that's what they do. The grandfather was a cop. The father's a cop. The son's a cop. And they build great lives, middle class lives, on the prison industrial complex. There are prison guards in small towns. That's all they have.
Run the whole town.
Run the whole town.
That's it.
Run the whole town. So it's a whole big apparatus that's making money off of us. And what the drug thing does, because here's the thing. If a law is working, because drug use is a moral issue, it's not a criminal issue. People are getting high because they need help. I'm sorry,
right.
They're not. How you don't lock somebody up who needs help? I remember during the AIDS crisis in the '80s, the white homosexuals who broke the law to get drugs for what they needed, and they weren't locking them in big clumps. They allowed them to do this thing because for them they needed it, even though it wasn't a cure for them. So that people who are using drugs are hurting. And it's a moral issue. It's a health issue. It's a disease. And they're locking up people because they're broken. And look, we all admit that racism in the images breaks our hearts. We have subconscious hurts because of this thing. There's no reason why drug use is prevalent in our communities. And then to make it a crime blames us for the hurt and trying to assuage the hurt they put on our behinds in the first place. Another thing is that whites use drugs in the same proportion as blacks. In fact, they have higher rates of drug use. Higher. But they lock us up 5 times more.
That's right.
For it. You got a joint, you write your ticket, you got no job, then you got a warrant out for your arrest if you don't pay the violation. On and on. Once you get into the system, it's hard to get out because you're not getting a job. Took me a long time to get over my issues. Long time. And it still comes up. So this whole war on drugs, war on crime, it's nothing about locking black people up, putting them in now they have private prisons. It got so good that Wall Street want a piece of it now. That's how profitable it becomes. Okay? So my thing is that number 1, it's not working. Number 2, it's discriminatory. Number 3, it's not going to people who need help. Number 4, only people that's getting rich is the bankers because that money is being laundered. You can't carry all that $1 million in your wallet. It has to be wired. It's not being shipped by UPS, that money. It's being wired through the banking system. It's like an underground economy that's benefiting the banks.
How about schools? Ain't no schools being built, but prisons being built.
Prisons are being built. That's more.
Going over just 5 prisons in Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Now it's over 20.
Yeah,
private size.
Thank you. It may cost $15 to educate the normal kid, but they'll spend $50,000 to lock us up. Quick, fast. They'll allocate that money in a heartbeat. You kidding? They don't want to give people health care, but they want to pay $50,000 to lock you behind them every year. So another thing about this drug thing I think can have immediate good effect on us is that it fuels a criminal culture. And if we can take these strings off us, get the people who need help, take out the criminality out of it, all of a sudden we got peaceful neighborhoods. Drugs are legal. People are going to use drugs anyway. You're not going to stop it. We tried to prohibit alcohol use. People drank more, and they noticed that
It didn't work. work.
It didn't work. Thank you. It's not working now. It's not working now. All they do is they ruin more black lives, less black voters, more black men in jail, more lawyers, judges, and police and prison guards making money off our hides by putting us in chains. It's the same old movie over and over and over and over again. And in fact, 10 years ago, if I said this to myself, I thought I was crazy. But it has to be advocated for. Other countries have tried it and done well. Because when drugs are out of the community, we need far less policemen, and that's a darn good thing. Because there's far less crime in the first place. There's far less prisons. There's more money for other things. There's far less guns. And then we can catch our breath. And it may seem like a hard thing, but that's one of the things that I think that should be advocated for. 10 years ago, you couldn't tell me anything about gay marriage. I thought they were crazy. They did it. Huh?
That's just like the governor cut all the males off of welfare. You know what I mean?
Well, listen.
He's creating crime.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I need to get a tissue.
Sure.
You know,
So-
he's creating crime.
All right.
But now they ain't got nothing to eat. You know what I mean?
So,
They got to go out and, some people call it working.
yeah.
They call it a job.
Mhm.
You know? Because they got to support themselves.
Exactly.
You know?
And like in Colorado, where they legalized marijuana, these people who are out on the street, they now can do it legally. They're not criminals anymore. And I think the open door to marijuana shows me is exactly what can be done if we just advocate for it. People just need help. And maybe we should be advocating for better images in media, because it's killing us. It hurts my heart that my daughter today, in 2015, after Brown v. Board of Ed, and when they gave the little girls the dolls to see which one they would pick, and the little black girl always picked the white doll, my daughter does the same thing today.
I banned all white dolls from my house.
They
But Brandy probably will still do it anyway. 'Cause
still do it today. So these are things that we have to address, and I think if we can address the way we're portrayed media-wise, and deal with the drug issue, which is a big fight, I think we would do good.
You know, speaking of that, this last Christmas, I was insulted, infuriated. I have, a black daughter. I have my niece, she's black. She has a daughter that stays with me. And I have social workers that come to my house. And not only social workers, but like therapists and so forth. And it was beautiful that they decided during Christmas to buy, to get gifts for my children. First thing that comes up, white Barbie. Next thing, another white chubby Barbie. And it infuriated me because I wonder how she would feel if this Christmas, and I really thought about doing it, but I thought to rise above the pettiness, if I brought her daughter a black Barbie doll, I wonder how she would have felt about that. Because being black is something abnormal. Being white is something normal. It's okay. Like you can give a Chinese child a white Barbie doll.
That's right.
You can do it across the board. But you couldn't do that with a black Barbie doll. I ban them out of my house. There's I have a friend who has a sister who loves white culture. I send them over to her house. I think it's so disrespectful that you wouldn't even consider the fact that you're buying toys for my. I don't want to sound selfish because she was doing something nice, but are you really being considerate? Like, I thought it was so inconsiderate, disrespectful, to bring a doll that represents your culture and to totally ignore mine. When you mentioned that, it just burned me up for a second.
That's today. It's like bringing a Hitler doll to a Jewish family.
Yeah.
That's tearing us up.
They had that on TV too, with the children. The black children would pick the white dolls.
Still do it.
You know what I mean?
Which one is a criminal? Which one is ugly?
Exactly. Still do it.
Right.
So I think we should do this more often.
So we're gonna get a petition
No, we need to talk some more. I don't think we're
to
ready.
legalize drugs.
I don't know how to do it.
You know.
But that's the thing that I want to do. You know.
Well, I heard. Well, what was it's not? I think it might be Washington State where it's legalized, but the federal is still illegal through the federal government.
Right, they
That's,
You know, they going by two sets of rules.
State
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
That is fine with me.
State
You know,
government.
because then I just want the guns out, and the guns are here because of drugs, and dealers need to protect themselves. And it's all about drugs. If we can just get the drugs out of the community, we will go very far. Now we can either go for legalize them, or we can take on the drug dealers.
I seen a guy
What's gonna be?
threw a gun out the window the other day. Cops raided his house and went inside his house, right? And he took the gun and threw it out the window as they was going in. You know? Mm-hmm.
And you get that gun.
Huh?
And you get that gun.
Nah, somebody else got it.
Somebody said free gun.
They knew the guy that they was searching down though, right? Somebody else came along and got the gun. You know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But I was saying how you saying gun and drugs.
Yeah.
You know, they went in there looking for drugs. I don't know if they had drugs or not though, you know.
Mhm.
You know? Mm-hmm.
He threw it out the window.
He threw it out the window.
You better.
It was snowing, so it hit the top, you know, hit the roof and went
Somebody
down.
walked up and picked it up and
Yeah. Somebody knew him though, because I told him, right? Because I was out there, I was shoveling snow across the street. You know, cause, and I seen him when he first went in there and everything.
Because what there's no room, just
Yeah.
It's true.
I wouldn't want that.
You know, I'm gonna end this table. Okay, y'all mind?